Hello everyone, and welcome back to a very long overdue video. It's the start of fall, so in this video I'll show you how to paint a moody mountain scene that captures those earthy autumn tones, and we'll only be using 5 colors today. So of course, in the description below I will list all of the materials listed. You do not need any of these brushes or any of these paints or the brands to make this painting. But of course, if you have them and you want to purchase these, then by all means do so. But I hope you are well. It has been so long and I am so sorry about that. In a future video, maybe I'll explain where I've been, but life has just taken me away from YouTube. But I wanted to show you my palette. It's by Talons and it's quite hard to find if you're in the US. However, if you are in the UK, you should be able to get this in your Amazon or any art store, I believe. But I love this thing. It's great for plein air, and that's what I'm using today. I'll also be cheating a little bit and using a pen to create my birds. But if you want to do a paintbrush, by all means, go ahead and do that. This one is actually gray color, just so you know. And of course, as always, I love my spray bottle. So let's go ahead and get started. For my paper, I just want to let you know it is Arches and it is the cold press. Now, my video clip kind of cut this out, but the first color here is by Holbein and it is the Gray of Gray. Next up is a beautiful orange, perfect for fall, and it is actually cadmium orange hue. It's very bright, quite vibrant, and a little bit goes a long way. And next up, we have Daniel Smith, and this is Burnt Umber. The orange is also by Daniel Smith. And if you hear my cat in the background, it's because she wants to be let into the room, but if I let her into the room, she will be crying and meowing at me the whole time to pay attention to her. All right, and now we have another Holbein, and this is Holbein's Payne's Gray version. It's a little bit bluer than the Daniel Smith version, and that's just because it's what I had. But any Payne's Gray will do. And the last one is a fun and unique color. You don't need it, it's not necessary, but this is Daniel Smith, and it's Graphite Gray. It is so much fun. There's some granulation in here. And of course, if you're using a very toothy, textured watercolor paper, you're really going to see the beautiful effects. So first up, I wet my whole paper, or the area that I'm painting in. And I soak it pretty well because it's still quite hot here. And then this just allows me to use the wet on wet technique. It's been so long since I've done a video for this channel that it is a bit hard to explain what I'm doing, so bear with me. All right, for the sky, I'm using a very wet and juicy brush filled with that Gray of Gray, and then I'm adding in a little bit of the Payne's Gray just to add the softness of shadows, and then blending it, mixing it, honestly letting the water do its magic. And then next up, I have loaded the Burnt Umber with a little bit, just a small amount of that Graphite Gray. It is going to mute it down, dull it up a little bit, but I'm okay because that's what I was going for in this particular painting. And so since the paper is already wet, it's going to feather out and create lots of those distant textures. And I go ahead and blend it, bringing it down a little bit, grabbing that orange, and you can see how bright it is, but it does fade dramatically, so I will go in a little bit later and add another layer over it. And taking a little bit of my burnt umber, adding a bit of richness and some definition. I do it to the top. Now, of course, this is meant to show the distance, but you'll see as I keep layering it that will build up the foreground and will build up the background, and you'll see some separation and definition in the landscape. Now, using my liner brush, I am doing what I think is quite fun, And since it's already wet, I'm taking those fuzzy bushes or trees or whatever they're supposed to be, and I am moving it up a little bit and blending it into my mountains. Now I will go back and add more definition, but to get a really soft and blended look and to use some of that color just to tie it in a bit more, I am going ahead and running the side of the brush and just moving it across the paper. If you haven't tried creating mountains with a liner brush, I highly recommend trying it because it's loose, it forces you to have those bristles dance across the page and they'll skip a little bit and it's quite fun. So I highly recommend getting yourself a liner brush. And adding a bit more of the two colors I initially used, which was the graphite gray and the burnt umber, and going ahead and adding some more definition. Again, my paper is still wet. It's a bit damp at this point. It's not soaking like it was before, but of course when you add more paint and you keep it wet, you're gonna have lots of time to do lots of blending and add in more colors. I'm not afraid of overworking it. Sometimes I think overworking texture, it adds texture if that's what you're going for. And you'll see what I mean later. Now, as you can see, everything has dried and my paper is quite dull at this point. So I'm going ahead and going to add in the second layer. I've used my gravy brush here. You don't need a gravy brush, but just any fine detail brush, doing a little bit of dry brushing over those mountains. And I'm doing it again with the rigger brush. And here's where I add in to bring in lots and lots of color because that orange just faded away and I wanted it to pop. And you can see this is where it starts to get overworked, but I'm okay with that because if you can see, I went ahead and smashed my brush down to move that paint, which it's almost lifting it. And that creates lots of texture in my foreground. Now with the third layer of the Payne's Gray, a very light, watered down Payne's Gray is on my brush. And I'm going ahead and adding in that more dry brush technique. I cannot talk, bear with me. And I decided it was a bit bland, a bit boring, so I went ahead and added some lines of different sizes to create a fence. I feel that this is such an iconic scene, and I know I've seen scenes like this before, whether it's on Pinterest or, sometimes when you look at something, it sticks with you. But as I go further or closer to the mountains, I want that fence to get smaller, just to create some definition. And I decided to create it from an angle. That way it's not flat, it's a leading line. Even though it's not necessarily going straight into the middle of the paper, it's going off to the side. If you want some character to your fence, you can go ahead and have a bit of the broken pieces to give it some life. And my favorite thing to do when you add something like this into your foreground is to add shadows. The shadows are really going to bring it more forward and draw your eye and just make it a bit more interesting. So tiny little tricks like this can do wonders. And here's my cheating part where I use a pen to create some birds. So it's a very simple landscape. Of course, my mission with these videos is to paint scenes that are achievable and, approachable and hopefully, moody, and that you enjoy that as well. And the best part, of course, is taking off some tape. I don't tape my paper very often, but I don't know, I really enjoyed this composition and layout of the color palette with the scene. But let me know what you think, and of course, be sure to like and subscribe. And I am so excited to see you in my next video. Again, it has been so long, and I hope you are well, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.